I have with us, I would like to welcome Mr. Uday Shankar. He's the president of FICCI with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Shankar, for joining us once again. We have Shulaja Firodia, founder and CEO of Kinetic Green Energy and Power Solutions Limited, also chairman of the FICCI Maharashtra State Council. Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, immediate past president of FICCI and joint MD of Apollo Hospitals Group. And Manish Sharma, president and CEO of Panasonic India and South Asia, an executive officer, Panasonic Corporation, and is also the chair for FICCI Electronics and White Goods Committee. Thank you very much to all of you all. We call this, or we look at this as an extremely important discussion. Mr. Uday Shankar, let's begin with you. The findings of this survey, does this survey largely reflect the mood of, positive things to come in the future?
Thank you very much, Sanket. Thank you for having us and my colleagues here on the show. I think the survey very comprehensively reflects the mood of the business community and is an indicator of things to come. As the title says, it's a business confidence survey. And I think in the world of business where people have to invest money and whether people have to take decisions, and some of those decisions can be risky, the confidence factor is a very, very important one. And the fact that the confidence factor is so high, as you said, it stands at 74.2%. It's at a decade's high. The significance is that the last time the confidence was somewhere at this level was when Prime Minister Modi came to form the government back in 2014. So after that, it's never been so high. So clearly you've seen that, it suggests that things have been going up and down since then. And they hit rock bottom during the COVID pandemic and the lockdown and the economic disruption that happened. But now there is clearly a buoyant mood, and some of the decisions that the government has taken, whether in terms of liberalization, whether in terms of the offers in the budget, the business community is positive, and there are positive vibes coming from the business and the way demand has picked up. Okay, Ms. Reddy, I want to come to you now. One of the key points or the key highlights of this report, and I remember you mentioning this, many of the members of the FICCI as well as CII mentioning this, that a lot depends on India's vaccination drive. Now that has kick-started, and the world is appreciating, though there was initial criticism as to whether we could have expedited this process or not, but it has started, right? And it's pretty much on track. How big a boost is this going to be for confidence building?
So, Sanket, clearly the speed of which we continue our vaccination drive is directly proportionate to the pace of the recovery of the economy. But the fact is that India has already given some very strong global messages, with the fact that 5.7 crore vaccines have gone to almost 64 countries. This is, diplomacy at its best, it's humanity at its best. And parallelly, you see in the last, I think, 52 days since we started the vaccine, the country has vaccinated over 2.3 crore people. But the highlight is that now the pace of uptick, like yesterday, the number was 20 lakh. Last week, it was at 14 lakhs per day. Yesterday was 20 lakh. So if this pace keeps increasing, if the vulnerable are protected, and then the net of the number of people who can come in keeps increasing, as well as the number of centers. I also want to highlight the fact that there's something very important and significant that we probably don't notice, but 97% of every tahsil, every rural area now has access to the vaccine. So the government's unique, public health policy, total coverage, vulnerable first, all this has been a fantastic strategy. And I believe it's clearly leading to business confidence from India as well as across the world.
Okay. Ms. Firodia, you are the founder and CEO of Kinetic Green Energy. I want to ask you this question because this is also from the report on what are the constraints. And the top constraint that we could see highlighted is the rise in fuel and other commodity prices, which could hurt the recovery. Do you feel that it's the need of the hour to have greater stability as far as these prices are concerned going forward?
Certainly. I think you bring out a very good point. There is certainly a feel-good factor that we are seeing because of the stability that has come from the vaccine, the feel-good because of the budget and the overall initiatives taken by the government. But certainly there are certain concern areas, and the biggest one is the rising fuel cost, and also rising cost of the other input costs like steel and plastic and other commodities. And if such inflationary trends continue, that could affect the demand growth, which then could affect which will slow down the economic recovery. So I think that the rising fuel cost has a snowballing effect on cost of material, on cost of business, on cost of transport, and also burns a hole in the pocket of the common man. So there's a need to look at this fuel cost increase and control it so that there is no inflationary trend that would affect the recovery that we are certainly seeing in the economy today.
That's right. Mr. Sharma, I want to come to you now as the President and CEO of Panasonic India. Clearly, consumer demand is going to be of a huge matter of concern for you and also a key driver of the economy. Now, if I look at this report, it also talks about weak demand during the pandemic. Do you see that changing now?
Yeah, Sanket. So I believe we have come a long way because this crisis hit us bang in the start of the summer season. And for brands like us, it was just onset of the upcoming summer season where you look forward to air conditioners and refrigerators to be proposed to the consumers. And the good sort of story is that not only the pent-up demand is back, but there are some clear consumer trends which are evolving. And I believe one of the trend which is coming up is that consumers are now preferring products which are helping them multitask. And I think this is a great news for the industry because consumers are now wanting to have products which are smarter, which are connected. And this is going to create an ecosystem of not only the manufacturing to start to happen in the country, but also the entire connected ecosystem to evolve in the time to come. So I believe that with low penetration rate of majority of products we deal into, I mean, just to quickly give you an example, for air conditioners, we have penetration of just about 5.5% of households in the country. There is a long way to go. And I think that is what we are now looking at, unlocking the kind of potential we are currently sitting on.
Okay. Mr. Shankar, I want to come back to you now. I can't help but notice what this report also says on what the industry needs. It talks about improving ease of doing business, greater transparency and clarity in regulatory procedures, timelines and smooth approvals of licenses and projects, long-term incentives towards skill upgradation of employees. And then, you know, the cynic in me wonders what really has improved, because these were all the concerns that were, you know, industry always had.
So a lot has improved. I think you should rein in the cynic in you because things are, you know, things cannot get dramatically better overnight, especially in the light of the setback that we have had in the last 12 months. However, there are clear trends that are coming out. First and foremost, the message from the government, including the Prime Minister, is loud and clear that we're changing gears. There is focus on industrial revival, there is focus on value creation and job creation, wealth creation, all of that. And the government walked the talk with a very, very radical budget where there have been clear and things like, you know, production-linked incentives, some of the other, sort of reform measures that the government has taken, including the highly controversial farm reform measures that the government has taken, because those are all the right things for the industry to do. However, it's not a silver bullet, and the job is not done, and that is what some of those concerns reflect. That, you know, the ease of doing business. India is not an easy place to do business. Part of it is because of the structure of the country. You know, the fact that states are really empowered, and for most industries to operate and to scale up, both the central government policies and the state governments need to be aligned, and that's sometimes not easy. And that needs to get better, because without that, this ease of doing business cannot get better. Then there are rules and laws, which are a lot of which are still archaic. There is this whole official and bureaucratic mindset that needs to change, where, you know, because there shouldn't be a situation where the government has gone much farther ahead, but the bureaucratic infrastructure, which actually has to execute on all those policies. If that doesn't move and if that doesn't, you know, get overhauled, then there'll be a slowdown, and that is what those concerns reflect. So I would think, Sanket, that your concerns are valid, and, you know, and there is no reason to feel that the job is done. but there is definitely an improvement.
Okay. You know, Dr. Reddy, the thing is that, and it is true for both economy as well as politics, they operate on perception, on, you know, an environment, on emotion also sometimes, right? So do you feel that that sort of an environment is now there for good, strong economic growth?
So absolutely, Sanket, and I think that was really the headline point, that 74% overall business confidence. We haven't seen this kind of positive sentiment in a decade. So that is really the highlight of the survey. But I think as all good business surveys, we need to go 2 to 3 levels deeper, and that's exactly what FICCI has done with this. We spoke out on the strong points, which was the positive budget, the pace of the vaccination. We also called out the areas of concern. And there's one thing which I think we also must focus now on, the positive steps which are being taken, so that the pace of these positive steps enhance. And many of them have been mentioned, so I'm not going to repeat those. But I do want to call out 1 or 2 where we spent a lot of time working. Ease of doing business, there's a significant initiative towards continuing the drive to digitalization, and this will help India's competitiveness. There's another very significant aspect on competitiveness, especially with the enhanced focus on manufacturing, and that is our entire logistics cost. So globally, most advanced countries, whether it's US, any of them, keep their cost of logistics below 9-10%. In India, it's 14%. So the government is focusing on enhanced connected freight corridors, manufacturing clusters. All these will enable a national infrastructure which will enhance competitiveness for the country. And the final one also, I think the rate of FDI coming in, because to achieve that $5 trillion dream that all of us are very clear we have to do as a country, capital is important, correct cost capital to all sectors that need it. And I think there are many initiatives across the board that the government is doing towards this.
Okay.
Let's stay focused.
Sure, sure. My next question is to Ms. Firodia. Ms. Firodia, do you think you can actually give us, as industry titans, and since you take care of Maharashtra, you are chairman of the FICCI Maharashtra State Council, any time frame when this confidence among industrialists or corporates can translate into action? See, right now it is confidence. Confidence has to lead to something. Do you have a time frame in mind?
No, I think certainly we are seeing a trend where not only confidence has improved, but there is also demand improvement. Of course, one is still cautious because a lot of people are still not sure about the continuing buoyancy in demand. So it's important that the demand creation measures are continued. But more than 56% people feel that demand is going to continue to increase. So I think certainly businesses are looking at making investments. More than 31% people are reporting increase in investment that they're planning to make.
Sure.
And I think if this feel-good factor continues, vaccination drive continues, then people believe that investments will increase, demand will increase, and therefore there is certainly an expected increase in the business activity that one is anticipating.
Okay.
So the confidence is resulting into demand and increased manufacturing activity, investments, and also hiring. So I think there's an all-along action. That's also one is being seen, not only in a confidence index, which is theoretical.
Okay, very quickly, just want to sneak in.
If I can just quickly add to that.
Yeah, Mr. Uday Shankar.
If I could just quickly add to that, 77% of the people who participated in the survey have seen that the capacity utilization is higher than 50%. That's a very significant number, and that's been growing steadily. And 77%, when that number, in our experience, when it gets to 75 to 80%, that is when people start looking at fresh investment to increase capacity and, do capacity enhancement. Also, pricing power, that's not just mere confidence based on the inputs that business leaders are receiving in their companies. A lot of them, are now saying that pricing power is coming back, and which basically means that people can align their businesses in tune with their profit objectives, and those are two really objective signs.
Okay, I have completely run out of time, but thank you so much to all of you for joining us. Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma, Dr. Reddy, Mr. Shankar, as well as Ms. Firodia for joining us.